Hello virtual lovers, welcome to Second Life by Loff. Today I'm going to talk about the main strategies about renting land to others, renting parcels in Second Life. What are the pros and cons, what are the different major options you have, and what you will gain and lose with which one of those options. So I hope to help you before you start a business about renting land to others. So I hope this helps you to reflect, to plan, and to go the right way, the most suitable for you. Because there's a very important factor when you start a land renting business, even if it's just a quarter of a sim or a smaller area and you are renting land to others. There's one very important thing. Once you have started through a path, you have chosen your way to do it, it's very difficult and very problematic to change in the middle of the journey and go back to another strategy. That is almost impossible because you already have people renting from you with certain conditions and certain structure of renting, and going back to that people and saying, oh, this is all over, I'm going to start another way. Well, you can imagine you rent from one guy and you have your land with your permit, with your conditions, with your prices, and suddenly the landlord tells you, okay, this is over, now it's going to be different, the land is not yours anymore, it's group, or it's not group anymore, you have to buy it. Well, you can imagine how bad it would be for you. So you cannot do that to others. So here we go. The most important thing when you are renting land to other people, it's you make a good planning, okay? You do the math, you must know how much you are paying, of course, for that land, either to Linden Labs or to a major landlord in Second Life. And then, how much do you expect to get back from people who are renting from you, from your tenants? And when will you get some profit? It's when you rent half your parcels, or it's when you rent them all? Is it easy? Is it going to be fast? Is it appealing? Do you think many people will come fast and rent from you? Will it take longer than you expect until you start breaking even and then going for profits? So you got to do some math and you got to create the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and then the middle ground, which probably will be what will happen with you. So don't count on having a land business and just having it up and running and it's all filled with tenants and even in profit in 1 or 2 weeks. It may take quite a long time. People need trust, people need interest, people need some consistency, word of mouth. It takes time in Second Life, okay? So the first thing is expect to take some time where you must hold that land and pay Linden Labs or the major landlord, and then only 2, 3, 4 months later you're going to be where you want to be. So that's very important. So don't be too much optimistic. Then, before we go into the three different ways you can manage the land you are renting, how you organize those rentals. Before that, another very important issue when you are renting land is how many parcels will you create from your original big land? Even if it's just half a sim or a quarter of a sim, how many smaller parcels will you create to rent to other people? And that's very important because imagine you are paying for a full sim to Linden Labs or a big landlord in Second Life. You are paying Lindens for that land, and you want to make profit with it. If you try to rent the whole sim to another person, you cannot have a lot of profit, because if you double the price, or even if you make it 20% more expensive, that other person who wants to rent from you will say, what the hell, man, I have landlords renting 20% less, I'll go for them. So it's almost impossible for you to have a whole sim and then rent it to another person, because competition it's there. So, and there is a lot of competition in Second Life. If you divide your SIM into 2 parcels or 4 parcels, 4 different parcels, then it's different. It's more difficult for people. You can have a little profit in one parcel, a little more profit in another parcel, and other. And you have 4 parcels giving you 5% profits. That makes 20% profit on the whole SIM. But if you just want to rent the whole SIM for 20% profit, it's not going to work. So the more you divide your parcels, the more profit you can make, because people will not look at the whole SIM. They will look at this size, that size. I want it, I don't want it. It also depends on how interesting you make the SIM, if it's residential. I'm not going into that right now. Though, of course, those issues are very important. If it's just residential, if it's a homestead or full region, what do you allow people to do in your SIM or your land, etc., etc. All of that is very important. But right now, I'm going to the general strategy. What I think is really important to remember is the more you divide, the more you can ask for a bit of profit on those parcels, and the more, the biggest the whole profit will be. If you divide your SIM into 20 parcels, or your land into 20 parcels, smaller parcels, and you ask for 4% profit on each parcel, you have 4% plus 20, which will make quite a good amount of profit on your whole SIM. You may even double the lind. You imagine you are paying 250 lindens per month. You can even get 500 $250 per month, and you can get $500 per month if you have your SIM divided in smaller parcels. But, and here's the but. The more you divide your parcels to rent to other people, the more customers you will have. And don't you just think it's all about, okay, it's rented, go away, it's rented, leave me alone. It's not like that. Your customers, your tenants, will be calling you all the time. This and that, what happens, my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I not do that? Blah, blah. There's always, you may think it's just like 2 or 3 things that you will help them in the beginning, and it's over. It's not over. It's never over. They're always coming to ask you about the environment, the sky, the ocean. Can they terraform? Maybe it's not allowed to terraform, but they just want to do a little hole. There's always, there are 200 variables managing a parcel. So one of those 200 will be on your tenant's schedule, and they will ask you help or information or yes or no about lots of things. So if you have your SIM rented to 20 people, expect to have at least 1 or 2 every day, or even more, asking you for stuff. And you can be, you can have a bad day and the whole 20 are asking you for help. And sometimes you are not there because you have your real life and it's 20 people waiting for you. Even if it's just 2 people a day, it's stress. And they may get tired of waiting for you and they go away to another place. So this is how you must play. You gotta plan, do the math, and you gotta think, okay, maybe I want to do fewer parcels, more expensive parcels, which are not so attractive because they are more expensive. Maybe it takes a longer time for me to rent those parcels, but when I have everything rented for those 4 or 6 parcels, I will only have to do customer service to 4 or 6 people. And I'm happy with that, and that profit, it's enough. I'm not talking about you hiring other people to take care of that. That would be another issue. This is just your business, you alone, okay? It's what this video is about. So sometimes it's better to have less profit with fewer parcels, but have an excellent customer service. And then slowly you can think about hiring people to help you out and scale that to another SIM and whatever you are doing. But be very careful with that. Don't just think, okay, the more people, the better. Tiny parcels, 100 people in my sim, 100 tiny parcels, real cheap, everyone will like it. You cannot handle 100 people alone, customer service. You cannot. It's going to go really bad, okay? Do not forget this. It's very important. Well, this said, let's go to the main 3 strategies you can choose. There can be tiny variables, and I'm not going through all the minute details of what entails each one of these strategies, but I'll give you the general guidelines and what you are gaining and what you are losing with each strategy you choose. And these 3 strategies are very simple. You can have your parcels divided and allow people to use them and pay the rental box to use those parcels, but those parcels remain yours. People don't buy those lands, they don't buy it, and the lands are not in group. The sim is not deeded to the group, which is something you can do. You can go to your whole sim and deed the whole sim to a group, and then people will be using your lands in a group mode, which is a 3rd way, but let's get to the first one. This is one where you own all the land. You don't deed the land to group. It's a green land, it's not a blue land. When you check show landowners on the viewer, it's green land, it's all yours. People are just using that area which was divided, okay? So this strategy means you still have full control. There will be no surprises. There's nothing people can do on those lands without you approving or you yourself go and do it. So there will be 0 surprises, okay? This is the big pro. Full control, 100% of what's going on those lands. It's under your total permanent control, okay? Maybe that's what you want. That's the big pro of this strategy. What is the huge, massive con or contrary or bad side of this strategy? Loads and loads and loads of work for you. Because Mary wants to change the name of her parcel. Johnny wants to create a landmark for a different area. Julie needs to change the music because she has a party and she has a DJ and wants to change the media in the parcel for the stream. Well, you can imagine what's going on. Everything people need to do with their parcels for their venues or their business, it has to be you going there and do it yourself. I would not go for this strategy. Although, maybe some way, somehow, that's what's important to you. Like full control. For some reason, like it's a role-play sim, and you still need that full control. But that's loads of work. Get ready to spend all your day there taking care of people. Of course, the previous warning I gave you works also on this way. If it's just 4 people, okay, maybe you can handle it. If it's 20 people, 20 small parcels, you won't be able to handle. So the more control you have, the more work you have, because you have to... And don't think people just, okay, this guy goes for the land, he changes the media, changes the name, the photo on the description of the land, he allows people to res in his land. It's just the first week helping the guy out. People are changing this all the way. People are changing media, changing names, description, the photos, everything. So it doesn't stop after the first week. So that's bullshit. Get ready to be there all the time. So I would not advise this strategy unless you have a very important reason to always keep 100% control on everything's going on each of your rented parcels. Maybe there is. The second option, it's one of the most common. It's just you have your land, you are renting some parcels to other people, and the way that people rent those parcels work like this. They go there, they buy that land, so that land belongs to them. You can have a covenant. You can have a covenant, like saying, because anytime there's trouble and anytime you have any problem with the tenant, you can refund him whatever rent was left on the rental box, and you can get your land back, even if the tenant bought that land. It's your SIM. You have state rights, management rights, either from Linden Labs, either for a major landlord that rented you the whole SIM. You have estate rights, so you can always get your land back. That's not a problem. But people will be the owners of those lands, those parcels. That it's great because it's the strategy where you have the less work possible. They will still ask you stuff and they will still call you out. Sometimes you have to help them. But since they own those parcels, by the way, they are paying rent anyway, so they buy the land just because for the transaction and for the land to be theirs momentarily or while they are still paying rent, and they keep paying the rent to the rental box. Usually, people, the land purchase is just because the system, Second Life system, needs to know the land now belongs to Mary, to John, to Teresa. So you are renting. So usually people when they do this, they sell the land like 1 linden or 5 lindens. It's just symbolic. It's just to make possible for the system of Second Life to recognize the land has exchanged hands, and the tenant can now have all the perms on that land. So that's the way. By the way, if you're doing this and you are selling the land for a symbolic price just to make the transaction, and then the rental is what's the business about, the rental box. Anyway, don't sell the land for 1 linden, okay? Sell it for 50 lindens. Even if you tell people or you have an artboard there or a poster saying, how to rent this land. Buy the land for 100 lindens and then pay the rental box and I'll give you the 100 lindens back. It's preferable. Why? If you have your land and people know they have to pay 1 linden just for the transaction to happen, and then they will pay the rental right away, because that 1 linden is just for the transaction to happen, is not the rental. Even then, you have trolls and crazy folks that just for fun go there and, 1 linden, boom, they buy the land. And they never intended to rent from you. They are just fooling around. The land is mine. Of course, you will discover that. You will send him a message. I saw you bought the land. You want to rent. Here's the rental box. You got to start paying right away, 1 week or 2 or whatever you set up. And the guy doesn't answer. He was just trolling, fooling around. And you have to go there. You have to retake the land, which is not a big deal, but it's a period of time. You may not be online, and that piece of land, you get it back, but while you don't find out what happened, or while you are waiting for the person to answer you, because you may think, okay, this guy bought the land, and this guy is just AFK, so he will come back, he is for good, he's a real person, he's going to rent from me, you will be waiting, and during all that time, that land is not available for anyone else, because the troll bought the land, and you don't know yet it's a troll. So you cannot retake the land right away. So be very careful, okay? Like 20 lindens, 50 lindens, because the troll will not find it very amusing just for fun to spend 100 lindens. Okay, that's a very nice strategy. That's why when you rent lands this way, it's not 1 linden. It's 20 or 50 or 100 or more. Very well. So this way, people who bought the land and they are renting from you, they are able to do everything and anything. They can change parcel, they name the options of the parcel, if other people can fly or not, or can res or not, the access. Be very careful, because that can be dangerous. You may have a SIM that is a town or a resort, and you want it, okay, you are selling the lands for people who are renting, but you want all the resort to be in a nice place where everybody can fly and walk around in the common areas, and suddenly you have 1, 2, or 3 people creating banned lands, which will break the whole sim. Unless you don't mind, and unless it's pure residential, you have 4 islands in your whole sim, and you don't care if they open ban lines. That's okay, but be careful with that. But they will have full power over their lands. You can, however, cancel if it's a whole sim, and you have state manager rights, either from a big landlord or in labs. You can prevent terraforming. Okay, that's one of the fewer things you can prevent other people from doing. Besides that, if you're selling parcels while the parcels are on other people's names, they can pretty much do everything. But that will set you free from all the work. Man, you bought the land, you got this. Well, of course, there's always going to be an EM, a note card, a request for help, but it's very rare, and you have very little work. So you don't have to spend so much time online taking care of people, but you lose control. That's the con. You are losing control over your parcels in your big sim or big land. You're losing control. They do whatever they want to do. You can create a covenant, you can do a general covenant, and when people want to start renting the land, they know there's a covenant. You cannot build above these meters, or you cannot put this type of things, you cannot build clubs, it's just residential, or you can do stores, but you cannot bring breathables. Well, stuff like that, you can create your covenant as you all wish. But people anyway will start going away from these rules, and you'll have to confront them and ask them to go back for the covenant and don't do this, it wasn't the covenant. And that's confrontational, and they may get a bit angry with that and go find another place to rent. So yeah, that's the danger you have. But it's the best way for you to have less work with your rental business, and people can manage everything on their own. You just try to make clear in the beginning, in the start of your rent, just try to make clear. Besides the posters and the covenants, you can have a note card, and when people rent from you, I think this pretty much is important in any type of rental. And anyway, when they rent from you, you suppose they read the covenant, they read everything. But anyway, send them a note card. Oh, remember a few rules. Here's the note card. Okay, very well. So the other strategy, which is the strategy I like more, it's you grab your half sim or your whole sim or quarter sim. You grab all your land, and you turn your land, and you did it to group. When you go to show land owners, it's blue, it's turquoise, it's not green. So it's a group land. The whole land is in group. Okay. And you can divide parcels. Those parcels, as soon as you divide them, they have their own identity, but they are in group also, because before you divided the parcels, you did it the whole land as a whole to a group. That has lots of advantages. You keep control over your land, because people is not buying their land. So in the second life system, the land still belongs all to you. You can go to that land and change stuff if you need right away, and there's a very good advantage in your group, the group where you did the land. You can create roles for different members, different roles. And when people assign into your group, they get into the everyone role with basic permissions on the land. But you can create special roles, and it's a very detailed when you are creating a role, a tag, a group tag, which is a role for members. And you are the one who assigned the roles. Like, okay, you are a renter, you have this perm, but you don't, they have this. So people, you can, in the same lands, you can allow like visitors to do just A, B, and C, but because they are everyone in the group with general permissions, but you assign a VIP, I call it VIP or special powers or officer or whatever, and you assign a more important role to the guy who's renting, and that guy has permissions A, B, C, D, A, H, F, F, whatever. So you can assign, you can have different people in the same parcel with different level of powers over that land. And that's very good. You can have a role for artists or musicians or DJs that go there. You can have a role for people who are renting from you. You can have two types of renters, like people with full powers or people with medium powers. You can create different types of rentals, and you still own the land. So you are keeping to yourself a lot of control on what's going on after the rental, what's going to happen in the future. You, for example, in Ibiza Live, anyone who rents the land, they are in the group, they can res on that parcel, but then I give them the VIP parcel power for the group role right away. As soon as I can, I go. And what happens is they can do lots of things, but there are some things they can never do. And I have when you create a role, the options you have, the boxes you can check yes or no, they are very, very detailed. You can even allow people on your group to assign roles to other people in your group. It's very complete. For example, people even people that rent from me and have special powers, there are 2 or 3 things they cannot do. They cannot create ban lines. No one can. They cannot return objects. Of course, they can take their own objects, but they cannot return objects. And there is a third one, which I don't quite remember right now, but terraform. They cannot terraform. Besides that, they have all the powers. They can eject people, add people to ban list, which is very important when people is renting from you. So that's the best way. So the land is not theirs, it's in group. I would go for that because you keep a lot of control, but you are also able to delegate lots of the day-to-day changes people want to make. They can make them themselves. So it's very well balanced. Another very important thing is it's very difficult. You can do it, but you have to plan from the start, and you cannot change it later, and it can be really problematic. You can have half your land, half of your sim remain on your power, not deeded to group. It's a green land, it's your land, not even for a group. It's not a group land, it's your land. And the other half, it's group land. But be very careful, like you can only do this when you start your rental business, then you cannot change it back. And I will tell you why. It's related with prims, okay? If you have all your land in group lands and you are not tied, because that's what happens when people buy land from you, okay? The second option I told you about, when people buy land from you, they are tied to the amount of prims that size of land allows. You can change that in yours if you own the sim from a landlord or Linden Labs. You can change that. You can create an excess of prims for parcels, but that's it's like it's a flat thing. Like if you say parcels can have 50% more prims, that will happen in all parcels, okay? So you can sell. The way you rent your land can be like people buy the land and they pay the rent, and the land belongs to them temporarily. But you can assign more prims to those parcels by going into regions. If you have the state manager rights, you go into region and assign extra prims. It's like 1.5, 1.8, 2, whatever. But be very careful, because if you say parcels can have 50% more prims, that's even for all parcels. You cannot have one parcel with 20% more prims and another parcel with 80% more prims. No, it doesn't work like that. You do it once and it works for all parcels. So that's going to happen even in all parcels. So be very careful with that. But yeah, you can. But when you have the whole sim, the third option, the whole sim in group land, then you can wear the prims however you want. You have like You can tell one guy, you buy that tiny parcel, you can have 2,000 prims over that parcel. And you don't have to go anywhere to change it. Like it's group land. All the parcels are side by side and the whole land is group. So there's not going to be a problem. As long as the prims don't go over the whole region allowance, a full region, 20,000 prims, and a homestead, 7,000 prims. As long as you don't go, I think it's 5,000 prims. Well, it's 5,000 for a homestead. As long as you don't go above that, you can tell Mary, you have a big parcel, but you can only raise 100 prims there. Johnny, you have a tiny parcel, but you can raise 3,000 prims there. So it's up to you. You don't have to select anything, go in the menu, nothing. You just tell them, and just make sure you have enough prims on the whole sim to make that distribution. But it's automatic. They raise what they can, and if they go over the limit, you have to talk with them. Because the land will not tell them, oh, you have came over the limit, you cannot raise anymore. No, they keep, like, you rent a small parcel in group land, or even in the first option, which is the land where you are not selling. It's not group land, but you are allowing people to raise in your sim, in the parcels they are using. The system will not tell them, 330 prims, not one more. No, because the lands are still all connected. They are not sold, so the lands are not tied to prim amount. They are tied to the whole of the sim. So you can have, like, one parcel, you say, okay, 200 prims, no more than 200 prims. And if the guy wants to put there 10,000 prims, disobey you, he can. Of course, you will confront him and tell him, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of here, or change it, please. Or if you don't change it, get out of here. So yeah, you can, but it's not on your control, okay? It's not your choice, okay? It can happen. But that's good. I think that's good because you can assign smaller parcels with loads of prims or bigger parcels with low prims, and it's up to you. You just have to say how much, how many, and people will have to go by those rules, and you don't have to be assigning prims on the region and whatever. So that's a very, very good system for renting out land. None of these systems is perfect. All three of them, they have their advantages and disadvantages. But it's very difficult. This is just what I want to insist with this video. It's very difficult to start with one strategy, and then when you have 5 people renting from you, say, okay, no, I'm going to change. Guys, give me all the lands, give me the parcels, now it's group land, or the opposite, okay? Another very, very important thing, and I was telling you a few minutes ago about you are able to have half your sim for you, not in the group, it's your land, green land, and half the sim, it's group land. But when you do that, the prims will be automatically assigned to group land or to your land, okay? You cannot change that, and that can be very problematic. Imagine, for example, you have land, you have a parcel that it's not, you have a big parcel, and that parcel is not in group land. It's your land, totally yours. You didn't sell it, it's yours. And you have 10,000 prims for that parcel. Well, you have, okay, 2,000 prims for your parcel. It's yours. It's the total amount you can do by the Second Life system. It allows you to use 2,000 prims on your parcel. And it's a green parcel, it's all yours. Not in group and not sold to anyone. And you create a tiny parcel. And you say, okay, I want the guy who is going to rent this tiny parcel. I want this guy to be able to put half the prims here. I need half for me on the bigger area, and in this small parcel I'm renting, that guy can use 1,000 prims, half the prims. That's fine. Everything is green land. If you had all your land in group land, that would be fine, okay. It's all group land, you have your bigger area, you create a smaller parcel, and half the prims are all allowed to go on that part. That's okay. Both lands, your bigger area and the one you subdivided, it's all group or it's all non-group. But if, for example, you want to keep all your bigger area as a non-group area, and you go into your tenant parcel and say, okay, now this is going to be a group land. Only this parcel is going to be group land. You have the parcel subdivided. The guy is renting from you. He used 1,000 prims. He has a big building there and pets and stuff that took him weeks and weeks to put together. And suddenly you do, okay, now I'm going to use the group system, which is better. I have more powers. Okay, now this parcel switched to group, did to group. And all the stuff, or most of the stuff, that your tenant, who was paying you to use the land, all those weeks and months of work he did building, decorating his space, poof, all return in maybe there's one tree left, or a big part, small part of the house, like a balcony or a table in his garden. All the rest is poof, gone. Because when you have a bigger area, which is no group, and you create a smaller area and you assign to group, that small area can only support the prims that were assigned to that small parcel. Suddenly, your tenant that was using 1,000 prims and paying you for that, and all the work he took building it, he's going to be totally mad with you, never want to even speak with you again, unless you refund that guy for all the weeks he has lost, which is no good for you. And even then, all the work, I mean, there's nobody who can pay some stuff. You know how it is, putting stuff together and creating something in Second Life. Even a total refund, it's depressing, it's horrible. So be very careful with that. Either it's all group or either it's all non-group, okay? Be very careful with that, because it happened to me. I was starting to build a sim. There was no rentals. It was just some experiment I wanted to do, and poof, suddenly like one tree left there because, oh yes, and the opposite also, like the whole land is group or your bigger parcel is group, and suddenly you select one to be no-group land, green land instead of blue land. So it's the same. So that land will only take 220 prims, and the guy was using 1,000 prims, so almost everything is gone. So be very, very careful. Many people doesn't know this, or never had the chance to use this, never had the need to do this, and they don't see it coming, and it's really terrible. If it's only you, your sim, anyways, it's horrible because it's all your work, boom, returned to inventory in clusters. You don't know where, you cannot rebuild it again. Unless you take 2 more months doing it. So be very careful, okay? Well, I hope this helped. Not everything is explained in all minute details, all the perms, all the stuff, but the video is not about this. The video is about your main choices, what you have to be careful with, your main strategies, and there is a lot of things about a rental business, like you can keep it clean and it's just rental, do what you want, or you must create. In my case, people is not renting from me just because there is an amount of land and there is a price and prims. They are renting in Ibiza, which brings a lot of things along with their rental. So you can either just think about land, prims, price, size, competitors, or you can try to get some leverage and make your land more interesting, either because they are renting in a bigger area which has common areas and it's a beautiful place, or is a themed place, is like a resort, or is a big mall and people are taking advantage of other stores because people go there to buy because they know there are many stores, and so each store will take advantage because many people will be attracted to other stores. They know there are many stores and they will also visit that store. But it's the whole amount of stores that creates the attraction. So don't just think about, okay, land size, what other people pay in other places, land size, prims, price, and I cannot go above these. You can rent, if your parcel is important enough. For example, London Sims, they charge, I was going to say a lot, but it's not a lot. It's what's fair. If they charge it and people pay for it, it's not expensive, it's fair. People find it fair. The price of a small store in London seems it's not about size, land, prims. It's not about that. It's about where you are renting, and people pay more than usual, than just the flat rates of competitors, because they get a lot by staying or having a business in London sim. So you can have leverage and raise the price of your rentals, because what you are doing or what you are offering with the whole of the rentals, or with the common areas or the theme or whatever. Also, sometimes your leverage may not be what is built on your sim, on what are the other renters doing, or if it's a niche like furries, sci-fi mall. Like, okay, it's a niche, and you're taking advantage of that. And everybody who goes for furry stuff with a sci-fi twitch, they know you are the only guy who has all the stores, the main stores there, and they're gonna find what they really want, and that's a leverage for you. But you don't have to go always by this way. You can also raise the price of your rentals, not because of what you have there or who you have there, but because of what you allow people to do there. I have rented homesteads. Well, not homesteads or not full regions. When you rent a homestead or full region, you have full rights. You do whatever the fuck you want to do there. But yes, you can make it adult or PG. It's about you. Even if you rent it from in the labs or from a big landlord, it's whatever you want to do there. He doesn't care. There's no neighbors. It's all yours. You're paying for it. But I remember I had a quarter of sims or an eighth of a sim. Like, it's quite a considerable area. And I wanted, and before I choose the place where I was going to stay, I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more, like 10% above the average or the competitors. But since I was not going for the whole sim, I was going for just 1/4 or 1/2. I had a lot of different types of lands, half full regions. Now Ibiza is a full region; it's the whole sim is mine. But I had like half homesteads. I did experiences, and it's good. Then you have to be careful with the covenants. And when I see a covenant, don't build above 20 meters, skyboxes only, you can have a mall or a store, but you cannot have a club. You can have this, you can have that. When I see that, okay, this guy is the cheapest one, I'm not going here. And when I see a covenant that says, okay, for example, sometimes there are rules like don't use breathables, but besides that, I talk about breathables several times in this video, but that's because breathables have a special heavy load on the servers, and they can easily cause lag. That's why people who rent lands are very careful with breathables. It's just an example. There are other stuff who does lag, but it's an example. But like, sometimes there is 1 or 2 rules, and okay, it's not your whole sim, it's a part of the sim. There must be some rules so everybody can get along. You don't want a crazy neighbor like doing wild stuff on your border, if that bothers you, if it interferes with you. So yeah, rules. But I don't mind to find a place more according to my rules and pay more. So this is a strategy, okay? Like, people can opt for your more expensive than average lands, but because you give them permission to do A, B, C, D, A, E, F, and the other guy only allows A, B, C and doesn't allow the rest. So that's also a leverage for people to choose your business. You just have to make it clear on your marketing or your publicity, okay? This video has been quite a long video, but renting land is not an easy issue. It has a lot of pros and cons, has a lot of details of variables, because Second Life is massive. Second Life allows you a lot of freedom on your choice and your strategies, the way you do business, the way you have fun, the way you have sex, the way you have culture or arts or education. And because of this richness, it can be also a bit daunting, like going into a business, and sometimes you have to learn with your mistakes. So I hope not in the total detailed way, but at least in the general strategy and cautionary way, I hope to have helped you or somehow alert you for how you should go and how you should not go, depending on what you prioritize and what type of rental it is, what type of business, what sort of time you have to be in Second Life to take care of it, and all of that. Okay, thank you for watching. If you enjoy this kind of contents, half my videos are about virtual Ibiza community growing, and the other half is about Second Life in general for beginners or veterans. And I hope my 15 years experience is not just the time I spend in Second Life, is the diversity and the amount of crazy things I tried and succeed and failed and regretted and loved it, and it's a wonderful world. It's like in real life, so I love it, and I hope all these very diverse experience I have. There's only one thing I cannot help you very much. It's avatar style cards and building an avatar and bakes on mesh and all that stuff. That's my weak spot. Everyone has a weak spot. But anyway, I've tried a lot of stuff, events and community management. So I hope with time my videos help you out, and from my mistakes and from my successes, you can avoid your mistakes and have more successes. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this kind of contents, feel free to subscribe. See you on the next video. Bye bye.